Mainstream media's favorite punching bag, former GOP vice presidential candidate Sarah Palin, is now speaking her mind. She has been accused of using violent images to make her point. So, is it target practice on Sarah Palin again, or is she to blame for the latest dust-up? A fully loaded debate next.
Media, you guys ginning up an issue like that, making it sound like it's a crowd like this of patriotic Americans who are inciting violence. It's not true. It's a bunch of bunk, and we ask for some fair and some balanced reporting coming from you.
It will. Well, Sarah Palin is now firing back after she was accused of inciting violence against Democrats in the wake of the health care overhaul. Take a listen.
We're not inciting violence. Don't get sucked into the lamestream media's lies about conservative Americans standing up for freedom as inciting violence. Violence isn't the answer. It's a bunch of bunk what the media is trying to feed you.
The controversy sparked by Palin's Facebook page, that of her PAC, her Political Action Committee, which uses crosshairs to illustrate the congressional districts being targeted by the GOP. They have the little crosshairs over the districts of Democrats who are in districts that voted for McCain in the last presidential election, putting rifle scopes on a map of those districts. Some said that was over the top. Palin not backing down. So, is it much ado about nothing? Steve Hayes, senior writer for the Weekly Standard and a Fox News contributor, and Juan Williams is a political analyst for National Public Radio and a Fox News contributor. All right, Juan, so is this actually, worth criticizing her over, or is it much ado about nothing?
No, anytime I think you see violent imagery like that, Megan, I think it's important for people who are in positions of leadership, people in positions where people look up to them, so they're models, to be very clear that, in the course of debate and even heated debate, there's no place for violence, and you don't want to encourage people on the fringe who don't necessarily represent the heart of the Tea Party to think that it's okay to throw bricks at people or to fire guns at people. That's just wrong, and I think that no matter what side of the political divide you're on, it's important to stand up and say it. And I think that's why you've seen, I'm thinking of Elizabeth Hasselbeck, who's on The View and who's been a Sarah Palin supporter, say, when you see crosshairs used to target people in Congress, as Sarah Palin did on her website, that's despicable, said Ms. Hasselbeck.
It's funny you should mention that, Juan, because we have that bite queued up now. Take a look.
The names that are next to and being highlighted by those crosshairs, I think it's an abuse of the Second Amendment and advertising. I also feel as though every single person on here is a mother, a father, a friend, a brother, a sister. And to take it to this level,
it's despicable.
It's disappointing to see this come from the party.
Go ahead.
I would hope that leaders like that.
You know what? But it's not one to do it.
Steve, this, well, you missed it, but right there, Joy Behar reached over and actually gave her a high five. And I've never seen the other ladies of The View so pleased with Elizabeth for calling out Sarah Palin and saying this is despicable. Does she have a point?
Yeah, you're doing something wrong if Joy Behar wants to high-five you. Look, this is much ado about nothing. It's even worse. I mean, for her to call it despicable, I think, is such an overstatement. And for her to say that it's an abuse of the Second Amendment makes me wonder whether she actually knows what the Second Amendment is about. Look, this is silly. The funny thing about this is, as I was reading these stories, one after another about Sarah Palin's supposed incitement of violence, I was reading one on a website, a popular website, and I looked at the ad next to the story. And the ad next to the story said, job hunting. I mean, we use this kind of language all the time in every single day, especially in politics. There's a poll out called the Battleground Poll that people pay close attention to, and nobody ever suggests that somebody's going to go out and shoot somebody because you call a poll the Battleground Poll. I just think this is silly.
Well, because the other thing that she did, Juan, was not only did she have this on her PAC Facebook page, but she talked about how don't retreat, instead reload. So she had some sort of gun imagery in her message. And, some are saying on the other side of Steve, look, it may be language that we see all the time in politics, but tensions are very high right now. And as we heard last week, several of our lawmakers really are being threatened. I mean, geez, we started this show with a news about an arrest of a guy who was threatening Eric Cantor's life on both sides of the aisle. So it's now really the time to be using this rhetoric.
Well, that's the way I feel. I mean, I think the reason Steve and I disagree on this is I just take this stuff very seriously, and I am sensitive to the idea, you know what, you don't want to overreact, Megan. Let's be fair. But the thing is that we're in an environment in the last week where we have seen people, right here on Fox, somebody, calling out Barney Frank in the most, demeaning way, and the Congress people who said that the N-word was slinged at them, and if not, they were spit on. And then, of course, we know about the FBI and the local police having to be called in. This is not imagined. This is very real to do investigations of actual attacks, and we know of the Eric Cantor situation. And that's why I think I have a heightened sensitivity to it at this moment. But it's not to condemn the Tea Party movement. It's not, as some say, it's leverage for the Democrats to go after people who are their political opponents. I think there's a real question about whether or not you see strains of the 1990s militia movement types, the Timothy McVeighs, who are now finding comfort somehow at the fringe of the Tea Party movement.
Steve, is there any point to this? Is there any validity to that? I mean, Sarah Palin is so powerful. I mean, one word from her can make a lot of people act. And while the vast majority of people who love Sarah Palin are completely normal, law-abiding, country-loving citizens, there are some who like her, just like some who like Barack Obama, who are a little crazy and who might take such a message the wrong way.
Yeah, but look, I mean, I think these are separate issues. If you have somebody who's going to pick up a gun and go and try to gun down a politician, it's not going to be because the person sees crosshairs on a Sarah Palin PAC website. I mean, it's such a leap to go, in my view, to go from one to the other. I think what we have happening here is Democrats not wanting to talk about health care. They passed health care. The substance isn't popular. So you've got now people taking a couple isolated incidents and trying to blow it into a narrative. And the media, as we all know, is eager for a narrative, especially because the narrative going into the health care vote was one that had President Obama on the ropes, Democrats fighting and scrapping to get this thing passed. Then it passes. You need a way to explain why it passed. And the explanation, I think, is that, that you're hearing, I think, fed from the Democrats and echoed in the media, is that, well, you have these Tea Partiers, they're radicals, they're gun nuts, and they really just hated, so the president won. I mean, it's so illogical on so many levels. Not to diminish what Juan says about the seriousness of actual threats, but I think to make the leap between the two is hard to defend.
All right, we're going to leave it at that for now. Steve Hayes, Juan Williams, thank you both so much for being here.
You're welcome.